And just when we thought Scandoval was dying out, Raquel comes in hot and is suing Tom and Ariana.
I get a text from Ariana sending me 2 screen recorded videos and a text that said, "You're dead to me."
Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Saj and this is my channel where I talk about whatever the fuck I want to talk about. And in today's video, we have another lawsuit. So for us Bravo fans, you may have heard of Vanderpump Rules. Rachel, or Raquel, however you like to call her, from Vanderpump Rules has filed a lawsuit against Tom Sandoval and Ariana Madix specifically. It is a 19-page document. So we are going to be here for a while, but if you like to see content like this, make sure that you hit that subscribe button. My goal for this month is 400 subscribers, so make sure you go ahead and do that. Make sure that you like and share if you care, and leave a comment with your thoughts down below. Now let's get into the contents of this video. So with a brief background, the show Vanderpump Rules is originally a spin-off of Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. One of those Real Housewives is by the name of Lisa Vanderpump. Lisa Vanderpump owns several restaurants in California, and Bravo decided to actually give her her own spin-off show where they document the lives of these workers that work inside of her restaurant. This show started back in 2013 and is still continuing to this date with some of the original cast members. If you've ever seen the show, everybody is dating each other. One of the most notable couples on the show were Ariana Madix and Tom Sandoval. If you have no idea who I'm talking about, I do refer to Tom Sandoval as either Tom or Sandoval, so you're gonna hear me kind of switch on and off with that. In 2014, that is when Tom and Ariana started their relationship, and it was really interesting to see every single couple fall apart throughout the years besides Tom and Ariana. They were notably the strongest couple. You may argue that it was Tom and Katie, but it's not. It was Tom and Ariana because they seem to last through everything together, well, up until this point. In season 5 of Vanderpump Rules, which at this point it is 2016, there is another cast member by the name of James Kennedy, and he introduces his new girlfriend, Raquel Leviss. And she kind of starts as like a side character who would kind of pop in and out, and she really didn't have much of a storyline. She was just known as like this ditzy girl that James would bring around. As I've already previously stated, none of these relationships work out. So of course, James and Raquel did not work out either. But the producers seemed to give Raquel her own character. They even had her working at the restaurant at some point and kind of made her into her own person. And she actually started to hang out with the friend group, and she started to get very close to everybody in the friend group. I mean, you're filming a TV show for so long, since 2016 together, you start to all eventually become really close friends, I would assume. But at this point, Ariana specifically becomes really close with Ariana. So in March of 2023, which crazy that this all happened a year ago, it feels like just yesterday. But in March of 2023, allegedly Tom Sandoval was in the middle of performing a performance, I don't know, I guess he does music, and his phone had fell. Ariana grabbed his phone, held on to it, and she had made her way over to the bathroom. She quotes that she had this woman's intuition to look through his phone. There in his camera roll, she actually finds a video, a FaceTime video. It is a screen recording of Raquel, the new best friend, doing stuff to herself on FaceTime with Tom Sandoval. So when Ariana eventually does see the video, she sends the video to herself from his phone. She also sends it to Raquel. So in real time, as all of this is happening, Raquel is filming Watch What Happens Live with Andy Cohen with Sheena Shea. Sheena Shea is another cast member. At this point, Raquel alleges that Sheena had pushed her into a wall and punched her in the eye. And people have their own speculations and theory about the attack and whether it was real or not. You could do what you want with that information. But one huge point of contention about the attack was the police report. On the police report, it doesn't say Raquel was hit. It says Rachel was hit. So at this point, all of the cast find out that her name is not even Raquel, it's Rachel. But she says Raquel for like a little bit of an edge to make her seem a little like different, which is very weird. And just imagine you're friends with somebody for almost 10 years and they never tell you that like their real name. That's very bizarre. So you may hear people, including myself, call her different names. Sometimes I'm going to switch to Rachel or Raquel, just depending on how I'm feeling. You may hear other people refer to her as Rachel or Raquel in sarcasm because what the fuck is even her real name at this point? It's a whole mess about the name. So the night that Ariana found the video on Tom's phone, this exposed a 7-month-long affair between Tom and Raquel. And this affair was actually coined as Scandoval. Because get it? Tom Sandoval, Scandoval. And when I say people were shocked, they were shocked. Like, how can you get so close to a person and then sleep with their partner? Like, it's bizarre. It's weird. And a lot of us were fascinated that we never saw the signs. Usually you could see if, you know, two people are kind of flirty. But us watching, because this was happening as they were filming the TV show, there was no like warning signs between them. People did later go on and look at like different videos to try to speculate what happened. But at this point, people are like, what? This is just so out of left field. It's so random. Why would he do that? Why would she do that? Everybody's supposed to be like friends. That's his girlfriend. It was like a whole shit show when everything happened. And it was a media circus. You could not open up any social media platform without seeing Scandoval trending. It was everywhere, from YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, Reddit. Everywhere had Scandoval. It was absolutely ridiculous. And at this point, Ariana ends her relationship with Tom. And at this point, Tom and Raquel are like, we're in love and we're dating. And that is also when Raquel decides to check herself into a mental institution. Guess what Tom did when Raquel was in the mental institution? He went on dates with different women. But you know what they say? How you catch them is how you lose them. And you may be thinking, girl, we know the story. Why are you retelling the story? We want to hear about the lawsuit. This lawsuit all stems from that one incident. So on February 29th of 2024, so literally yesterday, Rachel files a lawsuit against Ariana Madix and Tom Sandoval. It was also mentioned that there was 1 to 50 unnamed individuals to Raquel. Do with that information what you will. I don't know how they're unnamed to her. I don't know if like the lawyer like just didn't tell her, or she just doesn't know who she wants to like. I literally have no idea. It just says 1 to 50 individuals that are unknown to Raquel. I don't know what to do with that. It just feels very random, especially after looking through the entire lawsuit already. You're gonna be like, really? I think you know who you want to sue, but I don't know if that was like the lawyer's doing, or I don't know if that was like her just not knowing. And she is suing on 4 different counts. The first count is eavesdropping. The second count is revenge porn. The third count is invasion of privacy. And the fourth count is emotional distress. Let's talk about the introduction. The introduction basically just reiterates everything I just said. She claims that Scandoval caused very high viewership for Bravo, meanwhile that she was mentally struggling. She also said that Scandoval really helped other cast members, which I'm assuming cast members means Ariana Madix, because after Scandoval, people were in so much of support for her that she ended up being on Broadway. She was on Dancing with the Stars. She made several guest appearances everywhere. So people were really on Team Ariana, and she was capitalizing on everything that she was going through. And as everybody was profiting off of Scandoval, Rachel was silently suffering, which I agree. I do feel bad to a degree. Yes, what she did was bad, but the stuff that is said about her, not from the cast, just in general, the whole overview consensus of her is just awful. I think it's okay to criticize people, but I think it's another thing to start sending people just unwarranted hate for no reason. She claims that she has tried to apologize to Ariana several times at this point, but unfortunately she was subjected to Tom's predatory behavior. She also states that her contract with Bravo and Evolution, which I'm assuming is the production company for Vanderpump Rules, she wasn't contractually obligated or allowed to speak about her experience about everything that was going on behind the scenes. What I don't understand is, how is every other Vanderpump Rules cast member allowed to speak on it and she's the only one with a gag order? Like, that just doesn't make sense to me, but I'm just gonna let her keep rocking and rolling with this lawsuit. Let's get into the general allegations. So first, she talks about the hostile work environment. She specifically mentions James Kennedy and her relationship with him. She claimed that she was subjected to violent outbursts of his, and these violent and drunk outbursts were on and off the camera. She even talks about a moment that she remembers when her and James went to Arizona to visit her family, and I guess somebody said something to piss each other off, and he had a violent outburst with her parents and began to kick her dog 4 times. This is all alleged by Raquel. That is when the relationship was called off, and she claims that Bravo and Evolution were fully aware of his violent and drunk outbursts. I mean, hell, I'm even aware of his violent and drunk outbursts. We see it on the TV show. They even mentioned Kristen Doty, which is a former cast member and an ex-girlfriend of James. She claims that the production company witnessed James be physically harmful to Kristen, and apparently they got this all on camera. It just never aired. And she states that when her relationship with James ended, he ended up, going on and getting a new girlfriend, and she just began to drink heavily, which I feel like at that point in the show, she was always drunk. I totally believe that. And apparently her heavy drinking was encouraged by Tom and the production company. At this point in her life, she starts to confide in Tom Sandoval. And in turn, Sandoval started to confide in Raquel about his relationship with Ariana, stating that it's basically just a partnership and there's no intimacy or, physical, I wouldn't say attraction, but there's no love there anymore. That's when she states in August of 2022, the affair first started. Interestingly enough, she states that Ariana knew about the affair before everybody else. That really gets me, especially when you say it out loud. And she claims that Ariana knew about this is because Ariana scolded them for being too handsy with each other. Do with that information with what you will. I don't think scolding necessarily means that that person knows that you're sleeping with their boyfriend. And they were also told to save this specific storyline for season 11. I personally don't think Ariana knew beforehand, and I really don't think they were trying to save it for season 11. Just how everything played out with the emergency episode just doesn't really fit that criteria. What happened is when that whole situation happened, that was when they weren't filming. And then the news broke, and then camera and crew were at Ariana's house the next morning trying to scramble and gather everything together and drop an emergency episode after the reunion. The turnaround time was so crazy. Why would they put everything into one episode if they didn't need to, if they were saving a storyline? not scramble the last minute to try to get everybody's reactions of the aftermath. Not even the situation happening where she's finding out. They're scrambling for the aftermath of it all. It just doesn't make sense that they would try to save it for a storyline because Ariana already knew. That just doesn't make any sense. But according to Raquel, it does make sense because from Raquel, they were planning on getting rid of Ariana. Again, doesn't make any sense if you watch the show. She also claims that the unraveling of the affair was very strategic, which again, I don't think it was strategic at all. If they were saving it for a season, they would not have done all of this when they're on the off season of filming. It just doesn't make any sense what she's talking about. Again, if Ariana knew they were saving it for a storyline because they were trying to get rid of Ariana, one, Ariana is with Sandoval. Sandoval owns a restaurant with Lisa. If you get rid of Ariana, you're getting rid of Sandoval, and in turn, like half of a restaurant. And the show is based on servers at the restaurant. They were never going to get rid of Ariana. They would have just gotten rid of the entire show because those are the main cast members. Second of all, why do you claim that Sheena attacked you? If everybody knew, including Ariana, if everybody knew that you were having this affair, why were you attacked? Because nobody knew. Like, the math is not mathing, Raquel. It is not. Why are you the only cast member who claims that everybody knew? Nobody is claiming that they knew besides Schwartz. And that's because Schwartz was told. Ariana even went on the Call Her Daddy podcast last year and talked about if her and Tom broke up amicably, like if they broke up without all of this bullshit happening, she would just live off the grid and go off the show anyways. She claims that like this wasn't even a thing for her. I mean, you would have to take Ariana's word for it, so you could take that with a grain of salt if you want to, but she's already publicly stated that she wasn't really interested in doing it. She was just doing it because Tom was doing it. So I don't think she really cared that much to even continue the show. If they would have got rid of her, they would have gotten rid of her. But they would have, again, not have made sense to get rid of her because her partner owns one of the restaurants. Like, the puzzle pieces are not coming together. Overall, I have a lot of doubt around this hostile work environment section. I do believe she probably did go through a lot with James. We've seen it on the show, so I don't even want to know what happened off camera. But I feel like this alone was just a cruel attempt to throw Ariana under the bus, which becomes a pattern later on. Now let's circle back to that video that I mentioned earlier. Raquel believes that these videos of herself were recorded without her consent, and she actually feels like there may be more videos of her that she doesn't know of, and they could be circling around that Tom had, taken advantage of her when she wasn't looking, or, and there's more videos of her out there like that, which, say what you want about Raquel, but as a female, that is such a scary experience to not know if somebody has a video of you doing stuff to yourself, just as a regular person. Then as a public figure under a microscope, that fear and anxiety must have been like magnified to a 20. Like, I can't even imagine the panic and fear and anxiety I would have being in Rachel's position. And Tom Sandoval, if this is true, you are absolutely foul for that. Again, we get into the altercation with Sheena. Again, they were filming Watch What Happens Live with Andy Cohen. Then they went to the bar, and that is, again, allegedly where Raquel was shoved against a brick wall and punched in the eye. Apparently, there was a rupture around here on her eyebrow, and it did cause swelling and bleeding, and it allegedly left a permanent scar. And apparently that next day, Rachel flew home to be with her family. Then we get into the section called Bravo and Evolution, capitalize on Scandoval and cover up defendants' illegal actions. As I've stated before, Scandoval was a public spectacle if I have ever seen one. Everybody was talking about it. Even my mom, who used to watch Vanderpump Rules years back when like Jax and Stassi were still on it, I told her about it last year and she was shocked. She was like, Raquel, out of all people, Tom and Ariana, like she was so surprised. Like people were taken aback. And this was heavy in the media at the time. And people who never watched the show started tuning in and watching. All of this media coverage was centered around either Ariana or Raquel. It was either praising Ariana or slandering Raquel, and Raquel got a lot of backlash. She even states that she was arguably the most hated woman at the time, which I could agree with that. It was really bad for Raquel at the time. Everything that was happening in the media caused her to check herself into the mental facility. Before she checked herself into that mental facility, she was actually given the opportunity to have a confrontation with Sandoval, and the production company was there to film it. She was able to confront him on the explicit video, and he adamantly denied it. She claimed that he tried to manipulate her as best as he could, and continuing to gaslight her, saying that he did get permission, which if you have ever seen any episode of Vanderpump Rules with Sandoval in it, that is like his MO. Like he gets off on gaslighting and manipulating women. So that does not sound too far off. But eventually he did give in and apologize, and this apparently, according to Raquel, was all caught on camera. Apparently after all of the filming was over, Sandoval actually stuck around at Rachel's place after she asked him to leave. This spooked her enough to call her sister and her brother-in-law, and they came and picked her up, and that is when she sought out an attorney to figure out how to combat the leaking of her non-consented explicit video. Raquel claims that Sandoval was very taken aback by the scene, and apparently he was worried about, a claim of him doing something illegal was going to be put on national television, which it's to be expected. I would not want that out there either. At this point, she reports that he threatened to stop filming everything unless he gets the editing rights to the scene. And to at least my surprise, Bravo and Evolution actually gave him the editing rights, which does not sound right. I don't know about you, but I'm just not giving any random man editing rights to a reality television show, a hit reality television show. So apparently this confrontation was never aired on national television. And at this point, Rachel's attorney did send out cease and desist letters telling everybody to basically stop talking about this video. Clearly it didn't work because look where we're at today. But that is where the cease and desist come from. She also got a restraining order against Scheana at this point. Even state in the lawsuit that Scheana was bragging about it, and now she's adamantly denying it. So again, the whole Scheana and Raquel situation doesn't really matter. I guess it really just helps the context of the lawsuit, but in reality, it really does not matter. Now, Raquel did momentarily leave the mental institution to actually film the reunion for Vanderpump Rules, out of all things to do. And because obviously she was still dating Tom at this point, Tom is the one who convinced her to come back to the reunion. So she claims that she's doing this for Tom. And again, it's really selfish on Tom's part. She's in a mental institute. You had to call her from a mental institution and you asked her to come and do this. That is extremely selfish as a partner. If I was Ariana, I would be thinking, Raquel freaking me out of that. And Tom knew that Raquel would face the brunt of the backlash from every other cast member besides him and Schwartz. So Raquel did decide to go to the reunion under two conditions. One, that a mental health counselor will be there on set, and two, that her publicist and her confidant, Juliet, will also get to be there on set. Now, personally, I feel like if there's a situation like a reunion in any type of show, it should not be asked. I feel like it is, in that case, just as important as having like a nurse on set. They should already have somebody there. I don't think she should need to request it. Allegedly, Bravo did agree to these terms, and when the day of the reunion came around, they backpedaled and decided to change their mind after Raquel had already signed her contract. So legally, she could not have backed out of the reunion at that point. And I feel bad because she did want some type of support there. And if you've seen that reunion, she got it bad. Like, she got it really bad. It was probably one of the most brutal reunions I've ever seen. They knew it was going to be like that, and the fact that they did not have somebody there for her, even at her request, is absolutely ridiculous. I understand where Ariana is upset, but what made it worse was the dogpiling from all of the other cast members. That is where things went wrong here. Apparently, she was also given a gag order, making sure that she cannot speak about anything regarding to Scandoval. She claims that the combination of the reunion, heavy media scrutiny, and her not even being able to defend herself really led to the damage of her reputation, which, in my humble opinion, I think what she did damaged her reputation. And I feel like this entire lawsuit, she is failing to take accountability in her part in this. Because guess what? Sandoval, nobody can stand Sandoval right now either, but he's not suing people. But let's finish. The next point of contention is that Andy Cohen actually took advantage of her mental state. Yes, that was an actual header. Had nothing to do with Tom and Ariana, so I'm not really too sure. And if you don't know who Andy Cohen is, he is a host and executive producer of the Real Housewife franchise, and in turn, since Vanderpump Rules is a spin-off of that franchise, he is also hosting that show as well. And he was a host at that infamous reunion. And like I said before, Raquel took a beating at that reunion. She claims that Bravo and Andy did nothing to stop the dogpiling. They did, which they didn't. We all saw it. She states that another cast member by the name of Katie Mahoney said that she would lit her on fire. Rachel was called diabolical, demented, subhuman, a poo-poo head, fuck yourself with a cheese grater, you fucking suck, you're disgusting, and I wish you nothing but the worst fucking shit that could ever happen to you. And the whole time that all of these things are being thrown at Rachel, she remained very silent and stoic. Apparently, Andy Cohen said in an interview after the fact, and I quote, he did not know how long she would last on set and chalked up her apparent stoicism to being really medicated. So yeah, that doesn't really look good on national television. She claims that Bravo and Evolution tried to sabotage her recovery. She said that she was warned several times not to breach the terms of her gag order, and it wasn't even allowed to be spoken about in therapy. She said this caused her immense stress, and it was very hard for her to seek treatment because she was under all of that stress. When she checked herself into the center, she said that she had given her dog Graham to her parents to take care of him while she's at the facility. And she states that Graham suffered a lot of trauma while living with James Kennedy, and therefore in turn ended up biting her mother's hand to the bone. At this point, her parents take her dog to a no-kill rescue treatment center, and they said that they made sure that the treatment center know the situation and who the dog belonged to so they can make really smart and informed decisions. And in turn, the animal lady of LA, who loves every single freaking animal, they call Lisa Vanderpump. And who does Lisa Vanderpump give the dog to? Back to James Kennedy. So James Kennedy is in possession of the dog that he allegedly kicked 4 times. And you may ask, why is this specific section important? Well, she claims that that is also a contributing rumor that was thrown around and nobody was able to combat it. since she had the gag order, apparently her publicist couldn't even speak for her, stating that those are just rumors and that she had no intentions of putting on the dog. Her parents actually placed her dog in that position. She even claims that after the fact, Bravo tried to convince her to come back to the show, knowing her current mental state. But of course, and I agree with this, they did not take the necessary steps to protect her, especially at that reunion. So if they're not even going to do it for 1 or 2 episodes or one scene that they're filming, one thing that they're filming, how are we going to expect to have that same type of energy for an entire season? She even talks about how successful Ariana has been as she's been on Broadway. She has a new boyfriend and Tom is making more money, which to me, I feel like adding in those little tidbits do make her seem a little envious, because here and there they'll throw in like random tidbits about Tom and Ariana and you're just like, what? Now let's get into the counts. So the first count is going to be eavesdropping, which goes back into the non-consenting recordings allegedly done by Tom. The second count is going to be the revenge corn, which then Ariana had sent to herself. The third count is going to be the invasion of privacy, which was against both Tom and Ariana for their parts in that night. The last count is going to be intentional emotional distress. For the emotional distress, she would like compensation for emotional distress, anxiety, pain, fear, physical injuries, so I guess her injuries with Sheena, medical expenses, so her mental facility, and financial losses, which I don't know if Rachel will be able to prove that she had financial losses. I feel like it's going to be very hard to prove that the video that was sent around allegedly contributed to your physical pain, your medical expenses, and your financial losses. Because if you think about your physical pain, Sheena didn't have to see the video to beat you up. You still slept with her best friend's boyfriend. The mental facility. You're also claiming that the mental facility was due to the media coverage. How is that for Tom and Ariana to now pay for? And lastly, financial. Nobody wants to work with you. That is the problem. So now you have to prove that Ariana and Tom were the reason why you don't have financial. It's just like, this lawsuit is a absolute mess. She's also looking for punitive damages and she's looking for lawyers' fees, of course. One thing that really shocked me down to my core is that this lawyer is specifically asking for a trial. And overall, these are the counts, and I have so many mixed problems and feelings about it. I really do. Let's start with my negative feelings towards Raquel. One thing, I'm still not over the whole unnamed, unknown parties to her. It just really doesn't make any sense because she mentions Bravo, Evolution, and James Kennedy more than she even talks about Tom and Ariana. She really just talks about the one night about Tom and Ariana and then how they have had success after the fact. But it seems like you know who you need to sue, and it's not Tom and Ariana. I'm very confused as to these unknown parties to Raquel. Like, how are they unknown to her? It just doesn't make really any sense to me. Because yes, I do agree that Tom, if he did not get consent, he was eavesdropping. Yes, I do agree that Ariana engaged with revenge corn by sending it to herself. But they didn't cause a hostile work environment. She put herself in that type of position. And the whole thing is confusing because it jumps around so much. It mostly talks about the emotional distress factor and the hostile work environment, and it really just describes that one night I described in the beginning of the video. I do think she's suing the wrong people. I think she's just suing the faces. It just feels like it's out of spite that Ariana became so successful after the fact. Tom is making more money and kind of just living his life, doing whatever the fuck Tom does. And it just feels like now this is just like, here. It just feels very, very, I don't know, something about it. It just feels very off. I don't believe every single thing that she said. There's some things I do feel for and I really do believe her. Other things I'm like, she put that shit in there for a fluff. She would make a big claim and then have nothing to back it up. For example, she claims that Ariana sent around the video because she had a feeling. You don't sue somebody because you had a feeling. Or when Sandoval apparently had a fit and got the editing rights, she said it was reported to her. By who? Or she said that Ariana knew that the affair was happening because she scolded them one time. Like, she would throw random like tidbit in there and then there's no detail to back it up and you're like, where did that even come from? I do think that the count of eavesdropping will be very, very hard to prove because on her end, she has to prove that she did not give consent, right? And it would be really easy for her to have a warrant for that video, but at this point, Bravo probably burned it. So it's gonna be very hard for her to get that footage of the confrontation of, you know, Tom actually apologizing for it. Again, one of the biggest counts, which is the revenge porn, she claims that she feels that Ariana circled around her video. It doesn't even say that somebody showed her the video from their phone, somebody actually saw the video. She does not mention anything of those sorts. She just continues to state she believes, she claims, she thinks. There's like no like actual basis around it. She just got like a weird vibe and said that people were kind of like approaching her funny, but like also you're the same person who fucked their best friend's boyfriend while she was at her grandma's funeral. I would look at you funny too. And I don't know if it was like deep paranoia. You can't necessarily say that because you had a feeling means that it was spread around. Now I will say Ariana did continue to speak about that video so publicly, and I don't think Rachel really wanted to know or let the public know that there was a video. So she did put that out there, that there is a video or several of, you know, Raquel in an intimate moment. I think it's a bold ass move for a jury trial. Rachel even says it herself. She was one of the most hated women in America. So trying to get people to kind of come to her side and to, you know, vote with her, that's going to be a very, very, very hard task to do. And lastly, I do not think it's feasible to charge Tom and Ariana with intentional emotional distress. I don't. And I'm not entirely sure if it bounces around a lot, right? Because this lawsuit is basically from this one night, but there's so many different things. So I think the count of emotional distress is about the video, but again, so much different parts of it. Even though it's about this video on that night, and those were the counts, those are what the counts are pertaining to, it's just a mess. I'm not sure if this emotional distress count does refer to the video or does refer to what was said in the media and what was said at the reunion. I don't know. It doesn't really specify or elaborate on it. I look at it like this. Rachel, you scorned the wrong bitch. You cannot be upset and hurt when someone does not accept your apology. You even talked about fucking Tom while Ariana was at her grandmother's funeral, and you sat there and you giggled and laughed at it. You were doing perfectly fine then, and you felt like it was okay because you were with Tom and Tom was backing up your childish behavior. And then it became a problem when Ariana, who is known for not having any fear and holding back on what she has to say. And then when Ariana got to you and told you exactly how she felt, then you're in emotional distress. It's a cause and effect, babe. It's called freedom of speech, especially when you openly admit to doing these things. Ariana should be allowed to talk about her emotions about the mistress, aka the ex-best friend. She shouldn't be worried about if she's gonna be sued. And if Ariana wants to spread her story on an interview, so what? Who cares? There are TikToks on this stuff that get more views, but people are not suing because we don't have wipe your ass money like you, Raquel. I just feel like it's very hard for Raquel to live with the decision that she also played a part in. Like, I just feel like throughout this entire thing, there's just no accountability whatsoever. I think she could be able to sue Bravo and Evolution because they are the ones who put her in the worst position with bringing her to that reunion, being verbally attacked without doing anything about it, and then denying her request for a mental health counselor on set. For sure, they should be the ones. And I just feel like if this was out of money and not for spite, she would have picked the right people. You talk more about James Kennedy and the experiences you've had with him more than you even mention Ariana. Like, you did a whole section on Andy Cohen, and for some reason you are suing Tom and Ariana. Like, I just feel like all the wrong people are being sued out of spite. I just feel like she's perpetuating this narrative that it's not okay to feel your emotions and say anything you want. You slept with somebody's boyfriend, and then when that person says, fuck you, you're now in emotional distress. It's just like a whole fucked up cycle. And again, I don't think Raquel has taken the right accountability to even figure out what's wrong with this entire thing. All right, let's talk about maybe some positives for Raquel. Even though I'm team Ariana and it shows a little bit, I do want to be as fair as possible at least. Again, I think some of her evidence is pretty strong and solid, but again, I really do think that she may be suing the wrong people, and it may not be in her best interest to go down that route. I do think she has a very strong case against Ariana and the revenge corn. Ariana has bragged about it, admitted it, talked about her sending it to herself and to Raquel. It's public knowledge at this point. You did it. It is what it is. I do feel like that is something that is warranted and justified, because sending things of yourself without consent is wrong, and Ariana is in the wrong for this. And I do feel like that count may stick because it's just a very obvious one. She did the crime. She is going to do the time. I think invasion of privacy would be such a fantastic count to get Bravo and Evolution on, with convincing her to come out the mental institution, talk about her experiences, and putting her in compromising positions. I think that can also fall under invasion of privacy. I do think that the invasion of privacy charges are definitely going to stick, not only for Tom and Ariana. They clearly, obviously invaded her privacy, but I think it should also go to Bravo and Evolution. They clearly exploited the hell out of Raquel when she was at her lowest point, and instead of giving her the support that she needs, they continue to put her out in front of a camera like a circus monkey, and just exploited all of her pain and everything that she's going through just for the sake of good TV. Lastly, I do think that it is warranted for her to sue for emotional distress for Bravo and Evolution again. I think it's just so obvious. They are the ones who caused that super harmful work environment. So yeah. I also want to say that I do feel for Rachel. I do think that people are extremely harsh on her. Still to this day, they're extremely harsh on her, and nobody deserves to go through all of that hate and pain. I will say I don't think she holds herself accountable. I truly hope that Raquel is healing from this whole experience. The way that the media painted her, it was like Britney Spears level. She probably was the most hated woman in America, and honestly, I just hope she is thriving. I hope she learns from her mistakes. Overall, I do believe that this is a weird attempt to kind of get back at Ariana and Tom. You know, Ariana is living this successful career. Meanwhile, Tom got a raise and he's dating other women and he's kind of just living his best life. And I honestly, it's probably hard for Rachel to even leave her house. And I do think it's a form of revenge, solely because there's just like too many weird tidbits that are just sprinkled in. Like, Ariana is successful, Tom got a raise. Like, she'll just continuously sprinkle things like that in, and it's just like, okay, we get it. Like, we're trying to hear like something new. And honestly, I mean, there were so many bigger players that had a helping hand in this, and you choose the two smallest players. You choose the face, not the people controlling it. You choose to sue them, who probably have less money. So it does just feel like a sad and pathetic attempt to try to get back with them. I also feel like no accountability was found whatsoever. I'm a person of accountability, and I just feel like none of it was even considered. No accountability. She just says, yep, I slept with Tom and there was an affair. And that's as much accountability as it's going. And she also doesn't talk about like the taunting she does in interviews and just all the stupid shit that she does and says and what she does to piss people off. It's genuinely irritating. But I do think there's some really great things mentioned, and I do think there's some really stupid things mentioned, honestly. But that was the end of that 19-page long lawsuit. I do think this case has a very long uphill battle ahead. I'm really interested to see how things turn out. Leave a comment down below. Do you think that, you know, Tom and Ariana may settle outside of court? Because Ariana recently did just drop a lawsuit for Tom for the house. So do you think they're gonna settle to like kind of just, you know, get this out of the way? They really want to be bothered with it? Or do you think they're gonna fight it and try to go to court? And if you made it this far into the video, please make sure that you're subscribed. Remember, my subscriber goal is going to be 400. So if you'd like to help me on my journey, that would be great. More videos of me coming soon. And remember to like, comment, and share if you care. And I'll see you in the next one.